Welcome back to Harbour Unboxed for part 2 of our monthly Q&A. I've got my trusty sidekick, Tim, here with me. So what have we got? More questions on?
Yeah, well, we definitely have filmed the first half of the questions before making this intro. So we're definitely sure that it is the second half of RTX questions. So you'll be in for more GeForce stuff, I reckon.
Let's get into it.
Okay, next question. Considering the whole lineup of 20 series graphics cards will be available sometime around the end of the year, do you think it is worth waiting for Navi, that's AMD's Navi, especially for people thinking about the 2060 or lower? What do you reckon?
I mean, it's one of those typical answers like, if you can afford to wait, then I suppose wait. It's always the thing like, do I wait or do I not wait? Because you can always just keep waiting for the next thing. And we haven't even, the GeForce 20 series hasn't even released yet, and we're sort of suggesting waiting. But honestly, if it was me in your shoes and I didn't desperately need a graphics card rather, I wouldn't spend the money, because don't part with the money unless you absolutely need to. I don't know what graphics card you're gaming with now. Having said that, like, who knows how long it will be till we see these new 7nm GPUs from NVIDIA and AMD next year. Pretty certain it will be next year. And that being the case, it does make it a bit hard to spend big right now on 12nm tech when, I mean, I'm confident. Are you confident that we'll be getting 7nm next year?
Yep.
And, or even if it, TSMC 7nm, even if you say it's sort of like, 10nm, comparable to what Intel will be doing, that's still a massive improvement from 12nm, which is essentially 16nm. Gets a bit confusing, all this. In any case, it's going to be a big leap, similar to what we saw from Maxwell to Pascal, I would think.
Yep.
So I would save my money and wait for that and see how that goes, if you can. If not, maybe grab a secondhand Pascal card like we've been talking about to answer a few other questions. All right. Most of the improvements for the 20 series cards are mostly focused on ray tracing and not much of a jump on FPS. Also, when can we expect an official announcement for Intel's i9 9900K and i7 9700K?
Yeah, I think you spoke a bit about this again in the announcement video, and I think we both share the same sort of opinion. It's a bit of a smoke screen, potentially, to hide the fact that 12nm isn't that much of a step forward compared to what they were using for 16nm with Pascal. So, yeah, they've just made a bigger GPU with Turing and added in, RT and tensor cores, which, while it will be great for people doing compute workloads, probably won't be used in games, or at least a significant amount of games, for quite a few generations. Probably a bit of speculation on our part, but even just seeing the list of games that are using RTX features, it's not even half of like the major releases coming out in the next 6 to 12 months. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely paving the way for the future, because you need to introduce these things to get the features, get the ball rolling, that sort of thing. But
the way of the future, I just don't necessarily want gamers to pay through the nose for that future.
Yeah, it does seem like that's probably paying a bit more than you would otherwise expect for that sort of thing. For the 9900K though, that should be pretty soon, but we don't have any info on that. All right, this is a bit of a long question. This has been asked a lot, but I want an answer for a content creator student, digital animation, Maya, Blender, all that sort of thing. I've been waiting to upgrade my GPU. Will it be worth it to get one of the new RTX models, or is a GTX 10 series for a lower price a better option? Although it's really tough in Chile because the market is bad. Yeah, it kind of sucks. Those South American markets are apparently really horrendous for pricing.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, for these sort of workloads for your content creators, it really will depend whether the app that you're using is going to take advantage of those Turing features. So, you might get a pretty significant performance improvement for things like ray tracing if you are running an app that will support the RT cores and the tensor cores and all that sort of thing in Turing. But if not, then you're way better off, or at least it looks like you will be significantly better off with Pascal from a value for performance perspective. So yeah, unless you're able to take advantage of the Turing features, then yeah, probably better off with Pascal.
I think so. All right, will the 2060 and 2050 cards feature ray tracing, or will they just be a performance upgrade from the, I suppose, previous generation? So yeah, will they support ray tracing, or is it just a raster.
Yeah, I think
Rasterization.
yeah, I think the rumors are suggesting there will be GTX cards, so they won't include the RT cores. I mean, obviously, to save money, a really easy way would be to either deactivate or just make a GPU that doesn't have the RT cores.
It'll be a
and
new
the
bit of
tensor
silicon
cores.
for sure.
So yeah, it seems pretty unlikely that those cards will feature ray tracing. So that will just be something you won't be able to run. Yeah, and probably just mostly a performance upgrade, however large they manage to. But even then, I think something like the 2070 has a fairly significantly lower amount of RT performance compared to the top end card. So even that is going to
It's a 40%
seriously
drop.
struggle. Yeah,
40% less.
I mean, from some of those, captures that we've seen of the 2080 Ti running ray tracing, it seems like that card is getting worked pretty hard to do ray tracing. So with 40% less, something like the 2070 is going to struggle.
Yeah, I mean, it's early rushed implementations of the technology in the games that we've seen. That said, it uses it quite heavily to make the effect look amazing and, a wow factor.
Yeah.
It'll be used to a much lesser degree. And as we spoke of, I believe, in a question earlier, I don't think it was the Patreon live stream, there will probably be like some sort of slider bar in the settings to the degree of you can enable ray tracing. So, 2080 Ti, you might slide it more that way from 2070, sorry. God, I say that so much, 1070 and 2070. Yeah. But again, that's not as bad as the RTX and GTX. But anyway, yeah, I don't think you're going to see those technologies in the lower end cards.
Yeah, maybe next gen. All right, Steve, this is a question that we've been getting a lot. When will you give us some benchmarks of the RTX cards?
Well, we don't even know. Actually, it was quite funny. We were doing our Patreon live stream before, and we were saying to the guys, we don't know if it's going to be on the day that the pre-orders ship or a week before. But apparently there's an NDA floating around at the moment. The date was it the 14th of September, if I remember correctly?
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know if that's right. Could be. We haven't even signed an NDA, so not sure what's going on there. At the moment,
Yep.
I would have to say, or I have to assume that we will have benchmarks at least shortly after you can physically buy them, because if we don't have one by then, we will be buying one. But hopefully we'll have one well in advance so we can do all our planned benchmarks.
Certainly not for a few weeks. You won't be getting benchmarks though.
No, definitely not. At least 2 weeks from now. Next question. This is funny. Can Tim actually get mad?
What even is this?
We were reading through a lot of the fake rumors of the GTX 1180, which turned out to be the 2080 just before on the Patreon live stream. So I think Tim was getting a little bit triggered by some of those. So I think if I made him read through every rumor surrounding what is now the GeForce 20 series, I think that'd send him to a slight tinge of green, a bit of Hulk rage. But anything else that upsets you, triggers you beyond belief?
No, it's just that. Just that. That's it.
Just fake rumors get Tim upset. Makes News Corner really difficult, so that's probably why.
Yep.
All right, I'll power through this question because it's like quite a few of the ones we've had. I bought a GTX 1070 a couple of months ago, and I'm very happy with it. Good stuff. Do you think I'm missing out by not having waited for the RTX series, or am I better off having avoided it? Honestly, I think you've probably done the right thing, because sounds like you bought the card at a time when the prices had just come down from their crazy levels, so you got in at a good time. And honestly, the way it's looking at the moment, again, pure speculation on our behalf, but I think Pascal owners will have very little to upgrade to with Turing. I would say that they're best off skipping Turing and waiting for the 7nm technology that'll come next year.
Okay, Rusty asks, do you think the performance gain from Pascal to Turing will be similar to that of Kepler to Maxwell, i.e. the GTX 980 has fewer CUDA cores than the 780 Ti but outperforms it?
It's possible that Turing will pull away a little bit over time, because I think we did see that with the 980 and the 780 Ti, though the 780 Ti did come back a bit. It seemed like there was a bit of weirdness going on there with the drivers. But anyway, with driver optimization, it's certainly possible that the Turing GPUs will pull away further, especially if they can sort of take advantage of the RT and tensor cores. For your particular comparison, it's a bit difficult though, and it's certainly a different situation because while the 780 Ti did have 40% more CUDA cores, and that is certainly a lot more cores, it had 33% less ROPS, and the CUDA cores themselves were clocked 20% higher on the 980. Just the standard 980. So less cores, but more ROPS, and everything was clocked higher. The cores were clocked higher. So that gives the 980 a much greater pixel fill rate. It was about 70% greater, I believe. So that's why it ended up being a better gaming GPU. Okay, short, sweet question. i5 8400 or R5 2600 for streaming/recording? Tim's going to delve into this topic soon on the channel, I think.
Yeah, I think though, just as a pretty quick answer to this one, yeah, you're better off with the Ryzen 5 2600. The 8400 struggles a bit with 6 threads.
Yep, definitely.
All right, this is a pretty long question, but I think a lot of people are wondering about this, so
I'll sit back and relax.
So, MFM Art asks, what is with the demos being rendered in 1080p on the show floor, and why are there so many different reviews on their experience at the show? A German site showed Tomb Raider getting low frames, an IGN producer showed poor rendering, but TechRadar published their early opinion review stating the opposite. Surely we have to assume that drivers and optimizations are simply not there yet, and NVIDIA simply wants to demonstrate that it is possible, not that it is finished. That being said, I'm not quite sure what to expect with deep learning. I get the functionality for DLSS, but what other applications could we see? Could AI help in ray tracing workloads or something like in a physics-like capacity? So lots to break down there, lots to break down. So let's first talk about the demos. What is with the demos being rendered in 1080p? Well, basically because it seems like the 2080 Ti running that particular demo is fluctuating between like 30 to 50 FPS at 1080p with ray tracing enabled. So
takes 1440p out of the question, and certainly 4K.
So that's why it's being rendered at 1080p. As for why different websites came up with different opinions, I think most people have illustrated the low frame rates. I'm not sure why.
I've seen pretty much the same opinions.
Yeah.
I did see was it the Tech Report?
TechRadar,
sorry, Tech Report.
Yeah.
TechRadar review.
Yeah, a bit of a strange review.
Was it titled as a review or preview? I can't remember.
I think the URL had review in it.
Yeah, I thought it did as well.
Stuff, but...
So that's bizarre, very bizarre stuff if they said review, because it's a preview at best.
But I think some people with these things, like, it depends whether you're more sensitive to visual effects or whether you're more sensitive to performance.
Well, that's
because you could come out saying, whoa, the effects are really good, and completely ignore performance, and other people would just be focused on it running at like 30 FPS on a flagship card. So it just depends.
Yeah, if your takeaways, it works.
Yeah.
It just works.
Yep.
Sorry.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be.
Sorry about that.
Other thing for drivers and optimizations, yeah, it does seem like it is a fairly early implementation. I still think ray tracing will tank performance pretty hard considering how intensive it is to run on anything. It's very computationally intensive. So
yeah, the optimization will be doing it less.
Yeah. So there will certainly be some optimization for it being, an early product. But yeah, what else have you got here? What else could we expect from deep learning aside from DLSS? I think the deep learning stuff already helps with ray tracing to like do some post-processing on it to sort of smooth out some artifacts. I think that was already a feature of the tensor cores. Potentially.
Yeah, I'm not
doing some cleanup work for the ray tracing.
Not 100% sure on that one.
For other things, there is the potential, and there has been some reports suggesting that some post-effects features could be offloaded to the tensor cores. But we'll see whether that requires, game support, whether it can just be automatically done or what the case is like there. So yeah, I think there's certainly potential there for all those extra processing features of this GPU to do stuff, but it might take quite a while for different games and game engines to actually use it.
That was a thought I had when you were reading the question out. I think that was the part where we were sort of talking about, the software is not developed, it's not optimized. Okay, sure. The cards are coming out next month. Will we have any examples of ray tracing that we can use for benchmarking in games? Will we have more than one? When will we have a really good example?
Yeah, it might vary significantly, between games.
By the end of this generation, how well will we have taken advantage of it?
Yeah, who knows?
So does it pack enough RT cores to even be really useful? I don't think so, personally. That's just my guess. Could turn out to be completely wrong. But anyway, we'll find out.
Okay, this is a short and sweet one. Can ray tracing be something that can have some functions offloaded to the CPU, seeing that we now have high core count CPUs? Pretty basic answer to this one. No, ray tracing is way too computationally intensive to run on a CPU.
Yep. Okay, next question. Will AMD also come up with some super revolutionary lighting cores on their GPUs to compete with NVIDIA and their ray tracing marketing hype BS? Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think we might have mentioned this earlier on a different question. Who knows? But I'm sure AMD will also introduce, hardware accelerated ray tracing in a future architecture, especially as ray tracing is actually being implemented through DXR. I think I mentioned this earlier, which is DirectX ray tracing. That's vendor agnostic. It's not an NVIDIA specific thing, obviously, because it's DirectX. And NVIDIA's developed RTX for their ray tracing stuff, and that sits under DXR. So basically the game accesses DXR, DXR passes it off to RTX. A lot of acronyms there, but that's kind of the chain down towards the GPU. So basically AMD could develop like a RTX sort of equivalent for their hardware. So I'm pretty confident that will happen at some point.
Definitely, yep.
Yep.
Okay, we've got a question here for Tim from Revel Devil 2000, who's one of our Patreon members. So this is from our Discord chat. Hey Tim, I got to thinking about laptops and how high-end devices always have high TDP and in turn lower battery life. But phones have the interesting setup of 8 cores, 4 low power ones and 4 performance ones. Do you think something like that would be feasible in a laptop or in the laptop market for more efficient battery life, especially if Snapdragon on Windows becomes more widely adopted? Well, that's a pretty interesting question, that one. I'm interested to hear your answer.
So I think the reason why we're seeing that setup of 4 low power cores and 4 performance cores on smartphones is that smartphones do a lot of stuff in the background. Like even though when your apps are parked, it still has to, process all sorts of things to get your messages in, just to run all that sort of thing. You might be playing music with your phone in your pocket. That uses processing power and all that sort of thing. So the reason why they have those low power cores is that if you're only running a low power task, or if your phone's idling or whatever, it can fully shut off those performance cores, just use the low power cores for those background tasks. But on a laptop, I think a lot of the time, the tasks that you might be doing mostly would be sort of more in the performance end, something like running Chrome.
There'd be a latency problem, I reckon.
Might not benefit as much from having low power cores, especially because, there's not as many background tasks. Obviously, Windows itself is a background task if you're just idling, but I think a lot of people would just have their laptop go to sleep and then turn it on and use all your performance tasks. So that's one reason why I don't think that would be as useful in laptops. But also, modern x86 processors have a very different way that they sort of implement low power, core gating and all that sort of thing already exists. So with smartphones, they do some of these things as well, but Intel processors and AMD processors have much more advanced methods of downclocking or clocking up really, really fast, clocking CPU cores at different clock speeds, power gating cores entirely, and that's not fully implemented on smartphones. So where those low power cores and performance cores can have a bit more benefit. So yeah, I don't really see it happening, but
yeah, it wouldn't make sense, I don't think.
Yeah.
So basically with your laptop, the point is to get the job done as quickly as possible at sort of a maximum amount of efficiency, let's say, power, where it makes sense, get it done, and then go back to an idle state.
Yeah, whereas with phones, all those background tasks, it's good to have those cores that you can offload to. And especially as well, a lot of those low power / performance cores actually use different architectures for the cores. Whereas I think, these Intel and AMD, apart from having Atom for Intel, I guess, they just use the one basic architecture and then get it to scale up and down as much as possible. So again, it's probably a bit logistically difficult for some of these companies to develop something like that. All right, so we've finally gotten through 2 whole videos now worth of Q&A questions, probably all on exactly the same thing on the RTX card. So that's been a bit of fun answering those over the past hour. So thanks to everyone that submitted questions. And yeah, if you missed part 1, obviously go back and watch that if you haven't already. You'd be a bit of a madman to watch part 2 before part 1, I reckon.
Some people are just crazy
yeah,
like
there's
that.
some people that will do that for sure. As always, don't forget to like the video if you enjoy our Q&A. And I think we have some cool stuff in our Patreon at the moment. We've just done a live stream, on the day that we filmed this. But yeah, we had 2 live streams this month for the Patreon. So it's plenty of reason to sign up over there and get access to our exclusive Discord chat as well. So it's all fun and games over there. And I guess we'll catch you in the next one.
See you next time.